It was really like disappointing just to see how happily everybody had turned on me, and how people like Joe Rogan, who were like crying in the ring out of the honor of being able to call my fights, had like, people I considered friends in the media so quickly, turned on me and forced me to separate other people's perception of me from my own perception of myself, which I first lost. I got tapped in the beginning, and I'd fallen down the stairs a week or so before that, knocked myself out falling down the stairs at my house, and then didn't say anything and went into the fight anyway. Had a horrible weight cut, had the wrong mouth guard which didn't have the protection on the back of the bottom teeth. I was like completely disabled, and when I tried to fight again, and I was like, okay, I'll give myself a break and I'll make sure the mouth guard's perfect. This time I'm not going to knock myself out right before the fight and all those things. And then the same thing, I just got tapped and I was out. So I just didn't have the hardware to continue fighting. And neurologically, it wasn't capable of continuing to fight at that level. Right before the home fight, I slipped down some fucking stairs in my socks, tore out my knee, knocked myself out on the stairs 2 weeks before the fight. I'm the greatest fighter that has ever lived, but when it got to a point where I'd just taken so much neurological damage that I couldn't take it anymore, suddenly everything that I accomplished.
Delusional mindset that she always did. In fact, it's grown being outside the sport. How often does she praise Holly Hall and M. Mana, nuns, for being able to do what they did? She talks more about these excuses, falling down a flight of stairs, not having the right mouth guard, having a bad way cut. I woke up 10 minutes later than I usually do. We ran out of cereal in the morning. Like, these are all just excuses on top of other excuses, and she barely gives any praise to Ham Nunes for defeating her. The first 216 loss of her career. Of course, the fans are not going to be kissing up to her, and she had a problem with that. And for her second fight, she says she came back for us. She refused to do media for that fight. She refused to give interviews. For us to hear her, what is she talking about? She did it for the people. She didn't want to talk to the people. I was there. I watched every single fight. I remember every single interview. I remember how much promotion she got over the champion. And she refused to talk to anybody to 39 leading up to the fight. And then, after 4 years, it's been 10 years, and she's more delusional than ever somehow 10 years ago. It was laughable how delusional and entitled she was when she was fighting in MMA. She got booed out of the sport, went to the WWE with the same delusion and entitlement, got booed out of that as well, started to make books, got flamed there too, and now is on these different podcasts and shows, and she cannot understand. Why do they think this about me? Why do they hate me? Why do they 308 say these certain things about me? Well, it's not that people hate Ronda Rousey necessarily. There are definitely people that hate Ronda Rousey, but it's not that everybody hates Ronda Rousey. She just takes any criticism as hate. If it's negative, it's hate. She just did this with Joe Rogan. She was saying that Joe Rogan is someone who she thought of as a friend, but not anymore because of the stuff that he said about her. For those not in the know, you're probably thinking, what a joke, say about Ronda. that she 331 broke up her friendship over Jogan, only said that he overhyped Ronda Rousey's skills. That's it. That's all he said. There was nothing crazy. Didn't go after anybody in her family. Didn't talk trash about her, at least in most people's understanding of trash talk and Ronda Rousey's world. If you're not kissing her ass, you're trash talking her. If you're not bowing your head at her, you're not her friend anymore. And isn't it crazy that she gets booed from one 355 place out of another? The fans push back against her in MMA. Then they did the same thing in WWE. But she thinks everybody else is to blame. She's not the one in the wrong. It's everybody else. All the millions upon millions of people are in the wrong, not her. If that doesn't show you entitlement and delusion, I don't know what else does. I've never seen a more entitled and delusional person in my entire life. Not just fighters, not just athletes. I've never seen this before. This is coming from the 421 same person that still, to this day, could not accept L in a Holly home, in Amanda Nunes. She just made a book about all the different excuses that happened to her as to why she lost a Holly home. She said her mouth guard was bad. She had a bad weight cut and she fell down a flight of stairs that injured her, gave her a concussion and tore ACL, and that concussion carried over to the NES fight and ultimately deteriorated her ability to take a punch. It was all because of those stairs. Well, it turns out nuns and 448 home were not her toughest opponents in her career. It was stairs, tall, stairs, wide, stairs, short stairs, spiral stairs. Maybe a ramp staircases were the ultimate demise of our Rousey's career, not the US fighter Holly Holm, or the real greatest of all time, Amanda Nunes. Nope. It was just stairs. This is why Ronda doesn't give credit to Holm or Nunes. Stairs defeated her. Ronda has more trouble stairs than a wheelchair person. When you look at her boxing, hard to tell the difference. Sometimes a skill that 518 she didn't believe she would have to improve in because she was already the best at it. She has said on multiple occasions that she is the greatest at every discipline of mixed martial arts, and probably, I don't know if she said this, but she might still hold that belief today, because she's still calling herself the greatest fighter of all time, the same fighter that could beat Cain, Velasquez, and Floyd Mayweather in his own sport, could become a boxing world champion, when in reality she can't even 543 beat Holly Holm and Amanda Nunes, who are in her weight class, but we all know why she lost those darn stairs. Man, but there's more controversy that just came out like yesterday about Ronda Rousey, former UFC commentator. Jamie Smith has just come out and said that even the other employees in the back, like the cameramen and such, all hate our Rousey. None of them like her, he said when she got knocked up by Holly Hall. They were all cheering. They were all celebrating because that's how badly Ronda with 607 treat him backstage. Ronda, if you are listening, people behind the scenes, camera people, audio people, the people you can push around, and the people you can bully, and the people you can talk down to, can't stand your fing ass. Everybody behind the scenes that had to put a mic on Ronda. Rousey couldn't stand her. I said, why? They said she was a to us from the moment she sat down to the moment she got up, like it's our fault she has to do this interview to hype something, her next fight. And she's 637, just miserable. And she's mean to us, and we can't stand her. They were cheering when she got knocked out. This is what I was told, because those are the people you can be mean to and rude to, and they can't fight back. Those people couldn't stand Ronda Rousey, so don't sit here and tell me that you're the victim when the poor guy sitting behind the camera who's doing his job get on by you, or you're mean to the person asking you questions when we're hyping your fight. Don't give 703 me this victim. Don't waste my time with it. The way Jimmy Smith was defining it was that of a diva. Shocker. No way. Ronda's a diva. No, not. Ronda Rousey, she's the most humble, down-earth fighter ever. Well, she definitely crashed to the earth after Holly kicked her to the head. Well, we all thought so. But that mouthguard, man, if only she changed it, it would have definitely stopped that head kick from knocking her out. The delusion keeps going, and it somehow just gets stronger and stronger. Ronda's 729 delusional power level is that of like the power level of a Dragon Ball Z character. It never stops growing on a cusp of defeat. It only gets stronger and stronger. The reality of the situation is Ronda is not the greatest fighter of all time. Her competition back then was lacking a lot of quality. They weren't as skilled. It was like the beginning of it. They can't be on the level that they are today. Still the weakest part of the sport. But it was always the weakest part of the sport. The 135 pounds division was 753. Always the weakest weight class, even when Ronda was competing in it. And it didn't take too long for 115. The next WOMS division to eclipse it in skill and quality, Yanje, just herself, was eons ahead of every other. 135 besides Amanda Nunes and Shevchenko. And you would think those fighters came after Ronda Rousey. Well, actually, they've been competing. Before Ronda even made her MMA debut, they're more of pioneers of women's MMA than even Ronda was. Ronda just had a big splash in terms of 819 popularity and brought more fighters onto the scene because of all the fame and stuff. But in terms of who competed first and who was doing the thing first, Nunes and Shevchenko were there before Ronda was fighting in like the early and mid 2000s. Ronda began in like 2009, and frankly, she thinks that all the fans just talk a lot of trash, and they're against her and stuff like that. Well, that's not the truth. It's just that people are coming back to the realness of the 842 situation. Joe Rogan was the same guy that said that he thinks that Ronda could beat 50% of the male bantamweights in the UFC, and she's like the greatest thing that ever happened to the sport. He was crying just interviewing her and stuff. That's delusion. Joe was calling her like an historical figure. It's an honor to be calling her fights. An interview or watching her just walk out to the ring was just something magical. He was saying Ronda's boxing was so insane. Even said her boxing was 908, ridiculously good history. Everything was history with Ronda. Rousey, every fight was historic. Every pad work was historic. He was saying that Ronda's not a once in a. Whenever Ronda took a step on God's green earth, every time, that's all Joe Rogan was about her. He was the biggest fanboy. He just was. He was the biggest fanboy of Ronda Rousey. But then, after she lost twice, Joe had to 935 rethink about everything. She was good. Specifically, great at judo and great at getting an armbar. But I definitely overhyped it, which he did admit. I was like, she could probably beat half the men bantamweights in the UFC. Is true? No, it's not apply. Not true. I shouldn't have said it. At the time now, it's definitely not true. She could beat a few that aren't good outside the sport. Look, you took it all in. You looked around you. Look, 10 o'clock was like, wow, this is a crazy moment. Yeah, I never did it. Was so emotional for me. That was the closest have ever come to crying while I might cry now when I was interviewing somebody. I really knew that. I was like seeing history. You're in the middle of history. Knock that girl out like that, and then we're taking it all in, and it was so crazy. At the same time, it was nuts. The whole thing was such a strange moment. There was a feeling in the air. But when Joe stopped glazing, Ronda had an issue with him, just like a cult leader has with her cult followers, in a sense. Rogan, it was a one-man cult, but Ronda wants Joe Rogan and other people to still be like that, cater to her and kiss at her feet. But when people aren't doing it, she sees a problem with it, and it's funny. She's doing the same thing that she's claiming other people are doing to her. She's not 1053 giving any credit to her opponents that defeated her. She shows no humility whatsoever. She thinks nobody gives her credit. She's not giving much credit to Amena Nooner and Holly Holm, who absolutely deserve it. So, the next opponent Ronda has to prepare for are those flight of stairs, because it turns out they're the ones that ended her MMA career. And when Ronda says that she came back for us, she came back for the fans. She meant she came back for us to start kissing her feet again. That's what 11-19 it really was, because even still, after she lost, it was a sore loser about it. No humility whatsoever, no humbleness at all. She was confused with the fans, taking her delusional, entitled side. And that's why she left the sport ultimately and went to the WWE, where she faced the exact same problems and left for almost the exact same reasons. Ronda confuses confidence with arrogance, and she's so delusional that she doesn't even see it.